Welcome to cooking cheap, easy, and tasty meals. Good morning. Today, I'm gonna make some chewy lemon sugar cookies. One of my grandchildren is not feeling well, and I thought I'd make some and take some to him. So I'm gonna start off with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of kosher salt, and a teaspoon of baking soda. Baking soda, not baking powder. I'm gonna just whisk them together to get them mixed up and make sure the flour has been aerated a little bit so it won't be too compressed when I start with it. Okay, we finished the dry ingredients. Now we're gonna make the wet ingredients. I've softened 3/4 cups of unsalted butter because that's what I had this time. And I put it in the microwave. It took about a minute for me to get it softened all the way. So in this recipe, if you notice, I did add salt. If I used salted butter, I would probably not have added salt. Since I used unsalted butter, I did add a little salt. To this, we're going to add the sugar and the brown sugar. So that's granulated and brown sugar. And we're going to mix those a little bit. And while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and add our lemon zest. Now that's the zest from 2 fairly large lemons, and I do tend to like anything that I make that's lemony to be lemony. If you don't like it to be overly lemony, you may want to use a little less, but these were large lemons, so there's going to be a lot of zest. There's going to be a lot of flavor from them. Next, I'm going to add 1 whole egg and 1 additional egg yolk, and those are large eggs. You may have to adjust accordingly if you don't use large eggs. So I'm going to mix those together. I'm going to add the juice from 1 large lemon. It's about 5 tablespoons. Careful, because it's going to splash a little bit. Okay, definitely has a little lemon. I smell the lemon. We're going to add the wet mixture to the dry ingredients. I'm going to pour them all in. Finish. Make sure I get all of it in. I don't want to waste any of the lemony flavor or the sugar, but the flavor is what I really am looking for too. All right, so I'm gonna mix those up. I'll stop and scrape down the sides a little bit, make sure that I'm getting that done, getting all that in. Mixture very quickly becomes a stiffer dough as you get the flour mixed in it. Okay, looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to scrape down the beaters. As I've said before, I know that somebody wants to lick the beaters, and certainly it's your choice, but remember, flour is raw and eggs are also raw. And I'm using fresh eggs and not eggs that have been heat treated. So I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to risk that they're perfectly good. I'm not going to take the risk. I'm going to not taste the dough, which of course I really want to, because when I was growing up, nobody worried about those things, of course. I don't know that eggs were any fresher. I don't know. But just to be sure, I'm going to avoid that. There we go. I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap, put it in the refrigerator for 2 hours to let it cool. Okay, the dough has been in the refrigerator for a couple hours, so I'm going to start making cookies. I'm going to take this and I'm going to spray a little oil on it to help make it easier to get the dough out. I'll go ahead and pull them out, and then I'm going to roll them and put them in the sugar. It's sticky really fast. Okay, I'm going to cover the dough and put it back in the refrigerator because I'm just making my first test cookies. I'm going to take each cookie and roll it, and then I'm going to put it in the sugar and really press down and get some sugar coating on it. Since this is a sugar cookie, try and give the cookies a little room. But my guess is they may expand enough to get on top of each other, so I may have to adjust them a little bit. I want to get as much room as possible between them so that if they spread out, they won't spread out on top of each other. All right, so that's that. I'm going to put those in the oven at 350 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes until the edges start to brown. I took the rest of the dough and I rolled the cookies and put them in sugar, and I'm going to put these in the freezer, and once they're frozen, I'm going to put them in a plastic bag so that I can pull them out and bake a few at a time as I need them, since I'm not going to give all of them to my grandkids right now. Once they're frozen, they shouldn't stick together in a bag, and then I can just pull out 2 or 3 cookies at a time and have those available for several days whenever they come over. Okay, the cookies just came out of the oven. So I'm going to let them set for a minute, and then I'm going to put them on the cooling rack. And if cooled enough, it's even can be done by hand. Okay, now we've got our cookies onto the cooling rack. Okay, I rolled the rest of the sugar cookies and put them in the sugar, and then I put them in the freezer. So they are frozen solid now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in a baggie, put them back in the freezer, and hopefully, since they're already frozen, they won't stick together. I'm going to keep 2 out to test, and I pulled 2 out to put in the refrigerator to thaw to see if it made a difference. These cookies have been in the refrigerator thawing, and these are still frozen. I'm going to take the 2 frozen ones, put them on one end, and put the 2 ones that have been thawing on the other end, and we'll cook them and see if there's a difference. Okay, these are the cookies after 20 minutes at 375. I made it a little hotter than the 350 that I set the original cookies on, and even the one that were thawed in the refrigerator seemed to take a little longer. But they both seem to be fine, so that worked out pretty well. I'm going to let them firm up, and then we're going to make sure that they're cooked all the way through. Check the cookies, and they were all over 190 degrees internally, so they were definitely done internally. So whether I cooked them after letting them thaw in the refrigerator or right out of the freezer, they work the same way. So that's good information. I think I'll always just keep them in the freezer. Hope you enjoyed this. If you try them, let me know. I'd be interested if you have the same results. And I hope you enjoy the cookies. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and give us a like. Thank you.